Oh, okay. We'll just no. No. We want to talk to you guys about what we feel we did right in our kingdom spouse journey that got us together in God's time.
Sure.
So, babe, what's one of the things you feel like? What's one of the things you feel like you did right?
Yeah. Okay, so
Let me think really hard.
she's like, I want to do this video, and then like not gonna talk about it, so it feels like it flows, and then she's like, and you go first.
I can start.
That's fine. My first one was holding on to the last thing that God told me. That was a spot where, even though it kind of ended up being something that was a little bit of a point of contention at the end of that journey, it was something that I held on to that part that God had someone that He was bringing to me. Mm-hmm. And that once I knew that God had someone that was coming, that it was going to be something that I was needing to kind of hold on to that part of it. And that was something that really did get me through some of those darkest times, was just that piece of knowing that God had something that was on the way, and it was going to be here eventually sometime. I ran out in the process.
You actually had a date.
I had a date that I was given at the
literally
end.
Specifically said.
Yeah, but it was given at month 8 of 9, and
sure.
everything
in that. Know that.
Yeah, I didn't
know that the timing was that close.
No, wow. It was like last 3 weeks or 4 weeks of that part is when that happened. So up until that point, it was just that God had someone coming on the way.
Sure. No, valid.
Yeah. How about you?
So I feel like one of the really good things I did is, I didn't do super well when I got the first word, like that this is your husband, and then like it didn't happen immediately. Didn't do super hot with that one. But I did do really well once, she's eating my finger, once I got the, you're getting married soon. Oh gosh. Because, there was a soon in that, and that was a lot better. So I feel like I didn't grow weary in well-doing, because sure. Even when I thought like, my timing was God's timing, the initial word, I still got sad, but like I didn't like do anything that like would hinder anything that God had for me. I just felt so sad about it.
I think one of the
perfectly normal.
Right. I think one of the things that I did wrong in the moment was that I was trying to help God bring it into kind of fruition and make it happen, and I feel a lot of my problems in the process were where I didn't know if I had enough faith to let God be the one that was going to be the one that orchestrated that, and learned obviously in the long run that it was something that He had better for me than anything of what I thought I could find on my own. And we ended up with a wonderful little baby girl who is just the sweetest little thing.
Yeah. Dada.
She come here.
Dada. And so then I feel like something I did that was really good that definitely helped things was I prayed for him. Mm-hmm. I prayed for us. Oh, also, okay, so this is something I've never talked about. So when you guys tithe, so in our church that there's like what our rabbi always tells us is to sow where you want to go. Mm-hmm. And then also like when you drop your tithe to pray, like obviously we pray over it, but like to pray like what you're wanting that seed to become. So like every time, so in that like months of, I think even when I got the first word, so I mean almost a year, I actually sowed into our marriage. And so, I'm hoping I heard right, because I am literally naming my seed like our marriage. And this is a person like we're not even talking. Like right. I see him, like we're not talking, there's nothing there, so you can feel a little weird. But it was like I would name my seed, my tithe, our marriage, our children. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'd go and plant that seed, because then you reap your harvest, right? And thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, and we did something very similar. We did ours. I did some in tithing. Some of the times where it would be something where we it was called the one who was to come, and whenever we would buy something as far as towels or place settings or chairs or seats or things like that, we always had where we bought enough to fill the empty chair that wasn't there yet, or to fill the person for that space. When we bought towels, we didn't buy just enough for our family. We bought enough for the family plus one. Like, gosh.
That's fun.
And
I
so
love it.
in ours, whenever we were praying into it, we named it was the one where we just knew that the person for that spot wasn't here yet, but she was on her way, and that was just a small part of us kind of coming into agreement with our like that verse too. So
I mean, that's awesome. Okay, and then I think for me, a good thing that I did is I would declare it and decree it. So, like, I would just declare and decree the things that God had shared with me and that, like, I knew would be a part of our marriage and just like coming together, you know? And so I would just, that was my way of standing in faith, another way that I was able to do that. And like, if I would pass by something, like I put it in a video that like this little pumpkin patch place, and I remember being like, we're gonna be there next year in Jesus' name. And we were, you know, we just took her for her first time. And, you know, it was just stuff like that. Like, you know, I would see something and it would be like in my heart, like, I want that. And so I'd be like, and then we're going to do that in Jesus' name. And I would always feel like a confirmation in that moment of like, yeah, you are. And so that actually would fuel me and push me forward to keep believing and keep going.
yeah.
All right, babe, your turn. What else did you do right?
You know, I think some of the things that I did right was that I honestly just kind of kept doing a lot of my day-to-day things, just kind of keep myself busy.
It's like I kept living.
Just it was a part where
kept
you know,
going.
no matter the promise that was coming, still had to show up to work.
You did.
No matter the promise was coming, still had to show up to church. Still had to continue being fed. Still
the
had
promise was at church.
No, this is different church.
Oh.
Both churches. I was going to
Sure.
two, and it was just to keep myself busy, keep myself constantly being fed. I did pursue once the courts of heaven was open to me. It really explored that for a very long time. Got very comfortable with it, and that was something that was definitely a part of me that where I'm at today was because of how much I really kind of let God speak to me in my prayer time, in my time together. But it was still just kind of showing up and still being present in the moment. Still had to be present for my daughters whenever they were, you know, whenever they were here. I still had to be present for my patients. Still had to be present for parents and all these other things. And that's something that I felt like I did that at least pretty well.
That's awesome.
Now, when they weren't here, I was a depressed, anxious mess, and it was a problem, and I had to work through that too. But that was was still something that God was still showing me in the moment. So it's a process.
Right. Yeah. No, and I also can say that I was still present in my daily life as well. It's okay. It's okay.
She said, I want you.
Come here. You're okay, baby. Yeah, I was still present. I'm trying to think of anything else I did right. I don't know. I think it was just waiting and believing and enjoying that journey. Like, I just really enjoyed kind of every step of that. You know, I just really did. And then I also think documenting it, which we actually realized he documented his as well. We hadn't really realized that yet.
Yeah.
And so he actually documented his whole kind of like 2-year journey, like between like divorce and us like coming together.
Yeah.
And I documented my whole Kingdom Spouse journey, like from the time God gave me the word to us getting together, and even after we were together,
Yeah.
I was still making these I said admissions. I was still making the
Confirmations.
Krista Chronicles.
The Chronicles.
I was still making the Chronicles of Krista.
Yeah.
And that's pretty neat. And yeah.
But I think one of the things that I had a misconception about whenever kind of looking at the whole journey now is that I think that I was kind of naive in what I felt like a kingdom spouse relationship was going to look like. And that I thought that whenever we were going to get together, we were going to be comfortable. We were going to have just kind of have someone to go through life with me, go on vacations, and just help raise our kids. And I thought it was like all of the things that are in that kind of relationship. But I didn't realize how much it was actually going to be something that we were then working on kingdom purpose together to achieve it. Of something that neither one of us could achieve just by ourselves.
Right.
For mine, I had I had an established income. We had a good house. We had good things that were lined up. But in her case, in that whole process, she had developed a YouTube channel. She had developed an outreach way where we now, when we came together, we had all of these avenues that we both built up separately. And now we're ready to kind of actually merge all of these kind of purposes and go together with one strength moving forward. And I felt like that was something that was really, it was really refreshing, but it was something that I didn't expect that when we started it.
Which is interesting because we even do that with your job?
Yeah,
where
she comes in and we run two of our specialty clinics together, and it's just the two of us, and occasionally we have one other person that kind of comes in, and that's the whole thing that we run. But until she was here that was present, we didn't have two of these other flows or two of these income streams even available, and it was just something I couldn't do that in my own thing.
And they were also awesome because they're actually something that he always wanted to do.
Right.
So whenever that started coming up, it was really empowering for him, and it was really exciting for me because it was like felt like he was starting to kind of walk out his dreams.
Yeah.
Just things that he'd wanted for so long just to be a part of.
Yeah.
Like just extensions of what he was already doing, but like kind of different, And that really, really helps a lot of people. Like everybody we work with, like it can be very life changing. Where did your bow go? She's like, it's around my neck, Ma. But yeah, so that part was really cool because that was actually something that he had always wanted to do. Like it was actually a dream of his, and so that was kind of the first time where I kind of felt like, okay, this is, he's really starting to kind of come alive again.
Yeah.
And that way, because that was a process for him as well, the same as it was for me. It was like us actually really getting to a good place together, and really starting to kind of walk out our dreams. Like for the first while, like of our marriage, I just didn't feel like I had purpose. Yeah. But I also didn't tell him about YouTube.
Yeah, it wasn't until like
I hit you guys.
It wasn't until like way later, and I was like, man, I wish I had a way to like maybe help some people with some of the stuff that I went through. And she's like, well, I have a YouTube. I have this little thing that we kind of started years ago, and it was like,
it was so funny. I'm like, so about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's something that was a part of God showing that together, is that none of everything of what you're needing has been built by either yourself, built by Him through them, or what He's planning on building with you together. But a lot of the foundations were already laid before we ever got together. Yeah. And then now that whenever we got together, we had all of these pieces that we brought to the table of what God had built us through separately. And then we realized that's where that fits. This is where that fits. This is something that I didn't realize when I started this years ago, that this was the direction we were going into. And then we joined that way, and it kind of ends up falling into place that way.
I'm so sorry.
You're okay.
Jumped in the middle of your conversation.
You're fine.
But yeah, and it's like we both knew we were called to ministry.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big things of like the one that was coming, me, was like that, like with ministry, that was going to be pivotal. And so we had no idea that like we were going to be doing this together, and that would actually become like we would really, like, it would be our ministry, like a big part of it. I'm sure there's more, but that's so exciting because, like, I've always, I mean, that's what I want. Like, that's, I want to serve the Lord, and
Yeah.
that's what He wants. And, like, we just naturally, this is just our life. Like, this is what we do. We're just letting people in on it.
Yeah.
Like, we're just sharing it. And it's a blessing. It's incredible. It's like, this is just what we do. And then we actually, like, have a community in it. And there is something so exciting about that, and, like, so wonderful. And the enemy has tried for years to try to get me to, like, not do it. And I didn't even plan on ever telling him. And I remember actually when I told him, I was planning on not picking it back up.
Tell them about where the enemy chopped you off in YouTube.
Oh, okay. So here's how you get your blessings wrong. So I made a big mistake in life. I made a big mistake. And so when I was doing YouTube before, I had signed up for Google AdSense when I hit, like, over the 1,000 subscribers. And I didn't know anything about it. And I just was doing them here and there, but it was really hard to upload at that point for a multitude of reasons. But I just had a lot going on. And it seemed like the more I was trying to kind of go where God wanted me to go, and kind of when He was taking me up the mountain, you know, and a lot more opportunity was opening up, and just things, just getting my personal life sorted out, and all those things, it was like I started to feel like really shut down from it. Like when I uploaded, it caused a lot of problems. And so I kind of pulled away from it, and I literally, a lot of you guys know, like, I just kind of shut everything down. When we pulled all of that back up, like after I told him about it and we pulled it all back up, I was $99.96 away from getting my first paycheck through AdSense. And it was like,
you had to have $100. So for those that don't know, you have to have $100 worth of a credit that was built up before they would send you a check. And where the enemy blocked that out is that it blocked it out 4 cents shy of having that check go through. So
literally got me, like, because there was a spirit of fear that I had then.
Yeah.
And he got me to literally lay it down before the blessing.
Yeah.
And we still can't touch that.
Yeah, we don't know how to have access to it. They
literally changed it to where that money is just sitting there.
But and it's a good reminder, too.
It is a good reminder that you never quit. You never quit.
Yeah.
And the more you feel like you should, the more you shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a solid daily reminder of, like, that's what you let the enemy stop you from.
Yeah.
Because you were so close. And so all these fear tactics were coming. All of this stuff was just coming at me all the time, where I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to put this to the side because I have to focus on this. And it was wrong.
Yeah.
It was wrong.
But it's pretty neat it's a very sobering reminder of what the enemy tries to do and why he's hitting you so hard, is because a lot of you are 99% of the way there.
And you don't even know it.
And you have no idea
how close
it is
you are.
little deeper, a little farther, and it may not feel like a little bit. It may take a long time to go a little bit of that last little bit, but that's where your breakthrough is, and that's where the enemy is showed signs like this through us that we made sure we're never going to have that happen again. We're never going to choose that, and that's something that we have that as a reminder. And I'm honestly really thankful that that's something that we saw that, and it was very highlight, because we looked at it, we're like, there's $100, we could use that so many ways right now, because it was so hard. It was so difficult. And then every time we'd log into that part of it and we'd see, you had this but you don't have access to it, and we'll figure out a way to get that eventually. Like, we'll figure out some way to get that extra 4 cents. But it was just a really neat way of God saying, let me show you how close this came beforehand so that you never have this happen to you again.
Yeah, like when you feel that extra pressure being applied, it's because you're close to something. It's not because you're in the wrong or you're doing wrong things or you need to. It's because you are so close, and just don't give up.
Yeah.
Keep going. And I should have been more courageous. I should have been a lot more like, nope, this is something I'm doing. But it was hard for me to carry on my own, and I'm so thankful because now I don't.
Yeah.
He was like so encouraging to, like, you need to do this. Like, hey, why don't you make a YouTube video today? Like, hey, so about that YouTube.
She gets so frustrated with me. She's like,
did.
I don't want to make a YouTube
I was
video.
like, no!
It's like, can't you see I'm in emotional turmoil?
Yeah.
Why would you try and make
Why
me
would
just...
you put that on my plate right now? Like, obviously.
Like, you know what you need to do? Like, it would be that part where I was like, I think a lot of things, a lot of struggles, what you're doing is because you need to make a YouTube video right now.
Yeah.
It's like, fine.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't
Make
do
one.
it. And then I wouldn't do it. But I didn't. But then I actually finally did get to the point where I realized what I was running from. Like, I had to face it. Yeah. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but it is true. And I got to the point where it was like, I actually finally identified that feeling inside of me of that unless I do this, I'm not going to be okay. Like, I was disobeying the Lord. And I don't know, call me hard-headed, but some things for me come really easy and other things,
Woof.
Wow, man, get it through your brain. Receive what the Lord has. And so, yeah, I finally realized, like, I actually am supposed to do this, and I'm going to do this. And here we go. And that was a really great choice. And since then, I feel like everything's been completely different because when you're obeying the Lord and you're walking in your call, it's not like it's always like rainbows and sunshine, but it is a much better place to be in. And you, at least, I don't really know the words for it, but it makes that struggle a lot less. And you're like, it does. You have purpose. I had purpose all along. Mm-hmm. I just didn't see it. I didn't understand it. And so the initial purpose I had whenever we got together, which was, a caregiver for a family member, that was, we still are, but it's not like it was, And so it's kind of like all those things were just kind of removed. And I didn't realize, like, it's YouTube. Like, you have to pick that back up and you have to keep walking in that. And that was really pivotal. It was really good. Really glad you encouraged me to do what God wanted me to do.
It was a struggle. I've got some scars.
Finally, he's like, I'm not going to tell you to do this anymore. Don't ever do it again if you don't want to.
Yeah, I was like, if you want to, great. If you don't, that's fine.
Cool.
But, like, don't feel the pressure that you're having to do this thing. If you're not wanting to, that's between you and God.
And then when he would kind of let up, I'm like, you don't want me to do it? So you're saying I shouldn't?
Yeah, fortunately, I had 2 small daughters that were doing the same thing to me all the time, where it's like, I need you to, I want to try to help you. Why would you want to try and help me? You're saying something's wrong, and just trying to fight against that kind of part of it. And so it's like, it's just coming together. It's just learning to see that kind of difference, and also seeing that, in some ways, I don't know if it was something that she saw that being the solution of what her problems were, where some of those breakthroughs were still needing to happen. And I'm really just kind of glad to see that in doing so, God was able to find a lot of healing, because while we were leading, everyone else through the deliverance prayers, we were also receiving deliverance ourselves. We were also in the process of, improving our own lives in the process.
Every day. It's a walk. It's a walk. Right. And the thing is when we would come to those places of, like, real, like, learning, he'd be like, don't you feel like you should share this on YouTube? And I'm like, nope. Not at all. But after he would point these things out over and over again, I started realizing, yeah, I should. Yeah. Because he would point out to me, like, that's prophetic, right? Or, like, that, like, that's probably a word for someone, right? I'm like, no, it hadn't occurred to me. And so through him encouraging me and showing me specific things when they would happen, like, don't you think this would help someone else? And after he did that enough, I finally was like, yeah, actually, I do. Yeah. I see what you're saying, and it makes sense. And we just finally made that decision. So that was a big blessing. But yeah, that kind of bringing all that together is God makes a way for your gifts, and that person that he has for you, your gifts are going to complement each other.
Right.
And we are still exploring those, and they're super fun because the further we go, the more we realize like how compatible we are and how much we complement each other and how much fun it is to do things together. And so, it's just a walk, it's a journey, it's super fun. But we know we kind of went off on a tangent here, but we hope that you had fun because we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was just a fun video.
It was just a fun video. So anyway, we are gonna jump off here though. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, liking, sharing, and we will talk to you soon. We love you so big. Bye.